It's good.
Yeah, it should be near your collar. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the answer. Revolutionary. That's not your mission.
Again, so we are very fortunate, to be able to gather together and to discuss about Buddha's teaching. Everyone should carry a motivation, thinking that I must achieve to the full enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. For that reason, I'm going to listen to this teaching. And whatever you do, think that may this become beneficial for the sentient beings, to achieve happiness, and for the teachings of the Buddha to flourish forever. And then whatever merit you have accumulated through doing the practice, through listening to teachings and so forth, you should dedicate that merit for the teachings of the Buddha to increase, and for the holders of those teachings of the Buddha to have long life and so forth. And another thing I want to point out is about rejoicing. So when you rejoice, you have to know what kind of thing that you should rejoice over, the goods and bad things. So you should not rejoice over the bad things. So if you rejoice on the bad acts, then you accumulate the bad karma as well. So nowadays, so many people are rejoicing over the death of Osama bin Laden. And if you do that, then you're also creating negative karma for no reason. So instead of feeling happy that he's dead, by thinking that he's dead, we should have compassion towards him, thinking how much suffering that he has been experiencing, and how much suffering he will be experiencing in the future as a result of having created so much negative karma in this life. And also, and then on top of that, we should pray for him to not have this kind of rebirth again in the future.
르바데 뭐가지 다 시대도 로존도 보시기 깨자리스 쇼 지네 다 가서 거 가서서 가면서 이 시에다 다쇼 제대로 왔을 때도 딱 춘다 이제 가리고 있는다 구별해 그래서
So in one hand, people here are very well educated, but on the other hand, when these kind of things happen, they, and they rejoice on these kind of things. They party and so forth. So in whatever way you look at it, in terms of the dharma or even in the secular way, it's not a good thing to do that.
주쇼의 시와나 대답해서 다 소소 대파사를 해서 대파사를 소소히 하게 들어.
So when we think from the point of view of dharma, then we are creating negative karma for no reason by rejoicing over that. So just for no reason we are creating so much negative karma by rejoicing on the death of somebody.
아니 지대가 콜라삼 시켜지 시와나 그냥 코드는 믿지 마라. 그 콜라 잡혀져야 그 연락은 뭐좀 보면 뭐라고 와서. 단도 관계가 선나야 포가 있나? 아니 공중나들은 다 분보서 공 시는들이 공중 다 그래 가오지 야분들이 지어서 다 되게 희한해 막 이한조 거들아 되게 독증해서입니다. 자태는 말로 그러더라고.
And then also when we think, when we see from the secular point of view, so the Osama bin Laden is not only one person, right, who's creating all this terror in the world. There are so many people supporting him, hundreds and thousands, and millions maybe of people. So these people, when they see others are feeling happy and partying and so forth, and then they might hold kind of the hostility in their mind towards that act, and they might even think or plan of revenge and so forth. So that way may create more enemies again.
건설 전화 컴미팅 메워잖아. 다 그거 메워줘야 돼. 건설 다 쇼 대신 해달라고 넣었다. 국밥 국장으로 갔어.
So he's just one person. They think that if he is dead, then all this terror, all the terrorism will go away. Thinking like that is, I think, very foolish.
맞아. 생각나는 자문에 손 생각이 생각자도 맞는 실력을 자대 실태는 시간을 나고 실태는 시간을 나고는 또 나중에 나고를 봤어.
So just like it is explained in the teachings that the real enemy, is the inner enemy. The outer enemy, is not that bad. Even if you really want to get rid of your enemy, then you should get rid of the inner enemy. The outer enemy, even if you kill one, there will be another one coming, and then if you kill that, then there's going to be more. Two more will come. If you kill two, there will be four more. So always there's somebody come up as your enemy.
장문에 세계화돼 수수지지야. 내 자체는 공통 차도도 그래서.
So the real enemies are the delusions in our mind, like the attachment, anger, ignorance, and so forth. So those are the enemies that really has to be killed. And so those enemies, if we are able to kill, then once you kill them, they will not come back again. And so the external enemies, if you kill one, then there will be another one. If you kill that one, there's another one. Always there's somebody rising up as enemy. So even though we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but when you think and think about the thoughts or the things that they do, they're doing those things or talking about those things without thinking what's going to happen tomorrow. So today you do all the things, you see all these things and you do all the parties and so forth, and then tomorrow you're again afraid, thinking that they might come back and revenge or come back to attack you and so forth. So you're the one who created that condition, right, for them to come back. So for example, like if there is someone who we like and who we admire or respect and like and so forth, and that person is dead, and then there are other people who will say, oh, that was very good that person died. And how will we feel? Like we'll be angry, right? If they say like that, if they party, then we'll get angry, right? So it is similar to that. And so I'm sure, of course, none of you here rejoice over that thing, but sometimes you might get into conversation with people, and then they might ask you or tell you, well, what do you think, and so forth. Then, in that case, it's better to remain indifferent. So if you say this, and then that other person might get hurt. If you say that, and then this person might get hurt. So it's better to remain indifferent.
Then keep quiet is much better. Otherwise, you talk at the last guy, this guy, you hear.
So we might end up creating a lot of negative karmas for the reason. So we have to be very careful in that case. So what do you think? Do you think it will end here, or you think there will be more and more? I think there will be like that. Definitely 80 or 90%. I'm sure that there will be more. So all this happens because of the delusions in people's mind. They are crazed by these delusions, like attachment, anger, and so forth, and then they engage in those stupid actions. And so we are crazed, by these delusions. Our minds are crazy, and then we engage in the crazy actions, and then because of that, and then so many bad things happen in the world, or even the elements comes or rise up against humanity. And so all these 4 different elements, like the earth, water, fire, and so forth, we've been consuming, using them, and now the potential of these elements have decreased, and now then that from there that causes so many harms. So this again, the harms from the environment, from outside, from this element, also depends on the craziness of people's mind. And so, because we want to have so many things out of attachment, desire, because we have very strong desires and attachment, and then we want to have that or like this, and so we dig the earth in order to have all these treasures, or the minerals and so forth, and then we dig more and more, and then it becomes the earth becomes weaker and weaker, and then some part of the earth fall down and so forth. So that happened because of our desires, right? And the same with the water. So they extract so much oil from the oceans, and again, that can cause the problem in the water, and that brings a lot of harm to the say human beings and so forth. So all this again is because of our desire for having more and more oil and so forth, right?
사지면은 다 코나서지 자가세가 납니다. 코나서지 다 지금 제대로 그랬다. 대란아서 요러잖아. 다 군주었음. 막아진다. 막아라라는 거를 봤어.
And also, I mean, of course, it will be hard to believe when we talk and from the point of view of the secular world, but from the religious world, we believe in the inhuman, like non-human beings, like spirits and so forth. We have the nagas, and then we have spirits called landlord. The spirits called landlord who owns the land and the water and so forth. And so when we when we dig those land, the earth or the land, and do something to the water, then they become angry and then they cause these harms also. So some of you might have witnessed that when we were building stupa, we ask for land from the landlord. So you do the rituals, perform the ritual ceremony, and where you ask for permission to be able to dig it. Otherwise, they will become angry and then can cause a lot of trouble in the future. So there's the kind of things that we do, where you have to ask.
대단 만도지 주주들이잖아. 다 들리죠. 다 대선 도움을 쌓고는 그렇고는 패도도 다 들리지는 제가 상무상 거 맞죠.
And so there's a way you can do, there's these kind of things you can do, and then you get a permission and you ask for that, and they will not become angry. So usually these kind of things are done when we build small houses, So we do that even when we build small houses. But nowadays, some people, so many places, they dig whole mountains. They don't even do that, right? And of course, there will be so much troubles, of course.
내가 내 징이를 개해나 말해나 너희는 대만은 코다대 주님의 용으로 왔어.
And so even if you believe it or not, if it is true, then it happens, right?
그래. 그냥 나도 지금 개와시마 캠 meleng지 임바이나야. 그 신의 아주 수제제 여와이나 그 내로 말하다 그것도 깨어만 왔어.
So whether you believe there is such kind of thing, such kind of beings called landlord or not, if there is, then it will happen, right? And the same thing like, and even if you believe in future lives or not, but if after you die, if you are born and again, then there is a future life, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not.
매 kelba도 셔틀로도 직접 중요해서.
So.
지금 매 셔틀로도 매 kelba도 kel매 가서 kel매는 여는 하고면 그래서 여야 돼. kel내는 말한테 다 코로시당 시절이 중요해.
So it's natural for water to fall and fire to blaze, right? It is natural. But if somebody says, I don't believe that, it doesn't matter whether he believes or not, the water will definitely fall, right?
그래서 어떤지 봐서 지금 가서 미샘 출발했더니 다 중앙시 투대와서 다 이발을
And so because of the human being's mind being crazed or disturbed by these emotions, then the elements will be disturbed also.
어떤지 봐서 다 나도 지금 나도 비하베리 스몰 그룹 나도 지금 나도 좀 담불이 나도 시대에 쭉 정말 해나다 시대 수수고 샘을 줘야 된다 계시면 알아들어.
So we're just a small group of people, or even we won't be able to contribute much to the world, but it is important for each individual, for our work, for ourselves, to have these controlled minds.
Okay. What that didn't do is the Tanazo Kasani, that is on Sodema. Pashita Moshe Bas.
And so now we're going to go back to our text, the actual text. We've been talking about that or discussing about that for several months now, right?
What is that? She is in Maso, that number 3 sit down. Two months in the Adela, that gave us a junior letter. Limit that gave us some Lemba, Leah Chudelayan gave us some Mother was.
So the practices of Dharma that we do, we engage in the three practices, right? Three practices of the three capable beings.
이 영어도 가르 좀 가져 용어서나 다 그나 시전에 semchen 잠시 지금 그 제가이나 다 삼사다 지금 뭐가 말이야 숨겨 봐라 때문에 다 추니 없는 시에서 말아 숨겨 말아
So, the reason why we have these three different paths to practice, is because there are three different, goals, and because there are there are different beings, wishing for different goals, and therefore there are three different practices.
내가 다 그나 강사스나 다 제일 주로 숨사 있는 거 념을 받으려고 해서.
So there are, just as there are three different paths, there are also three different kind of beings, who engage in these paths.
There are
many trees, don't get confused, right?
We did many times, right? Now maybe you guys remember. There are some that Jew Chimbo, Jew Chum and Chimbo,
So three capable beings, right? The small capable being, the medium capable being, and the great capable being. And so we have to see, look into ourselves and see what we fit into.
간제마제 소소지 그냥 송거 동아 고외 그냥 송거 동아 쌈에 단도로 제니 다 잡으러 와야 나야 지상식 다 생겨 와야 나야 되게 제대로 나타 제고 중요해서 와.
And so what determines which capable being you are, is like, for example, if you strive only to be free from the suffering of the lower realms, and for that reason you take refuge in the three jewels or generate bodhicitta and so forth, and then it becomes the practice of the small capable being, and you become the practitioner as a small capable being. So you know what is medium capable being, right?
Who want to say? Don't say. Okay.
Be free from cyclic existence. Oh, may I add, just for oneself only.
So with that thought, then you engage in a practice, right? You engage in the virtues of practice. What is a great capable being?
Okay,
For everybody.
It's how much it is for everybody.
For everyone. Look.
Free of cyclic existence.
그래서 거기 고할 때 보시다. 뭐다 들으라고 다 들리게 나랑 알아서 강한 네여서 알아서 다 들이 깨워서 뭐지 알아서 내 차게 그래서.
And so as a practitioner, we fit into either of these three ones, right?
들리게 깨웠으면 이제 남아 쉬고 그래서.
And so for that, you don't have to enter into a path.
Okay. 대지 대라 깨웠으면 세다. 깨웠으면.
So those are the three capable beings.
들이 깨워서 뭐 가라를 남아 쉬고 차고 말해서 쉬고 오요 말해서.
So it's not necessary for for any of these three, to enter into a path.
근데 중요해요, 그래서.
But there are who have entered into a path.
Okay.
But Geshe, did you say at the beginning that those three are called paths? That those are paths? It's just different than the
The
path?
lamba, this is lamkhas.
다른 람라 그래서 나야 람라 그래서 기회 주는 람세야지. 람라 그래서 람무게 더 말씀.
So yeah, you can say there's a path, but it's not real path.
Okay. I'm just always confused about what to call those three, because they're not the path.
Yeah, not the path.
But would you call them the paths? Or there's something else? Or maybe they don't have a name. Maybe I'm...
It's
So you
just
can say paths of the three capable beings.
Okay. Thank you. That's very helpful.
so is just for my clarification, is it a path or is it describing different types of beings? I thought it was describing different types of beings.
It was both.
그 강사가 자기를 위해 람 자기를 했어요.
강사 말이야. 강사 가르쳐.
람 말았어.
대남 말. 강사 말하고 숨기 냠내지도 말았어.
기우승리 당선.
기어서 땅도 람도 살아. 람 다니라고 그래. 람
So yeah, I mean you can call that path, that in terms of a practice, because it's a practice that you can call a path, that leads to some kind of place. So you can say it's a path that leads you free from lower realms, that's the small capable being's path. But when you're told the path, then that's different.
Okay.
다 되지. 다 나라도 야 지금 남주 쪽 넘어 섬냠들 해야 돼 지금 와서. 대야다다도 가가래 들어.
And then again, there are three principal aspects of paths, right? That's different from this one again.
근데 누마든 나라 솔직히 다 냠슬 내고 강사가 냠슬 내다 내는 거 샤바치다. 시탄 그 차니 다 깨워 줄이 줘 냠레스. 단다들라 간 냠슬 내야 다 예스가 나면 냠레 코랑 차니 다 해주셔서 냠레 다 섬세지. 다 가자 그래서.
And so, so that one, the small capable being, medium capable beings, the great capable beings. So that's in terms of the person, a being, right, who engages in what kind of practice to achieve what kind of goal. And now here, when we talk about three principles of the path, that's talking about the aspects of the path. Those are the renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view of emptiness.
다 들어라 다 민주 상식에서 야다고 따왔음 다 결합 제대로 다 파시 다 남으시고 그래서.
And so for that, and in order to generate the realization of the three principal aspects of the path, then you have to enter into the path.
시전으로 와요.
In general.
근데 양치 라마 마시고 있는데 양치에서 돈이 도둑들이 요래서.
In general, so you have to enter into a path in order to have the realization of these three principal aspects of the path. But it's not necessary because you can realize emptiness before you enter into a path.
다 대셔서 강아지리 관심 많이 다 시전에 다들 남으시고 그래서 다 내주는 다 남문이 들었어.
So in general, you have to enter into a path. But not necessarily, like I said, you can realize emptiness before entering into a path. And so the renunciation is the actual path. Renunciation is the beginning of the path. So when you have generated the renunciation, then that's when you have actually entered into the path.
아니 샤치고 쌤 아니 야다고 따와서 다 됐음 다 남지 좋아하는 것 같은데 그래서.
And same with bodhicitta. When you generate that, then that's when you enter into Mahayana path. And then the emptiness, which usually, for only in the case of the sharp faculties, otherwise, most usually you generate after you have entered into a path. So those are the three principal aspects of the paths. And then there are three vehicles, right?
노조에 말티 대화서는 나 인도지 대화 라디오에 대화 아니 다 대신이 대화하더라 그래 들어와.
So there are three vehicles, the hearer's vehicle, whole soldier realizer's vehicle, and Mahayana vehicle.
동서 강가라다 남으시고 그래 들어와.
For all those three, you have to enter into a path.
어떤지자 그래서 단다 남지 좋은 스님들 내는 강가라야 다 대서 뭐 강라 내려 그래 들어와.
And so mostly, so those who practice three principal aspects of the path, usually, has to be one of the beings who have entered into any of these three vehicles: the hearer's vehicle, soldier realizer's vehicle, or Mahayana vehicle.
어떻게 다 돈돌아야 소소제제가 남들아 마음을 다 주면 아주 사람 시켜주잖아. 아니 소소제로다 다 쓰고 연구해서 와.
And so, I mean, of course, there are great and detailed explanation about each vehicle, the hearer's vehicle, soldier realizer's vehicle, and Mahayana vehicle. So next time when we study or discuss about the paths and grounds, then we will learn more in detail about those.
내가 관심 많이 연주 샹서 야다고 따왔으면 남소남소를 대개치 못해야지 사고 지고래서.
So the renunciation, bodhicitta, and the correct view are the three principal aspects of the paths. And it's very important to know them.
먼저 된대지야 지금. 또 그래. 딱 문에 전에 대해 하면 거네는 지금 다시 단계 잠시 위에 잠시 쉬어다니다. 여보시라 그러더라고.
So even if you don't understand the exact meaning of what they are, just knowing what they are, I mean, just knowing nominally, like just knowing the name of these three principal aspects of the path is very good also.
어디지? 다시 식당 그 직단 로단으로 냠려가 지금 제약을 진행 강하다. 제약을 남다.
And so the the path to practice and the beings who engage in those practice and so forth. And so we have discussed this before also, right? And so, like I said several times before, that this 37 practices of Bodhisattva is very, very important, to apply into day-to-day life's practice. So, so even if you can't do all of them in one day, just even a few verses, if you can recite them, that would be also very good. So, for example, like His Holiness considers the preparatory teaching even more important, than the actual initiation. So, like, of course, the actual initiation, actual cultural initiation is very, very sacred, but he considers the preparatory practice more important than that. So in the preparatory practice, then you have to understand all about the renunciation, bodhicitta, the emptiness, and so forth. So based on that, then you can engage in the practice of the tantras, right? And so, of course, the cultural initiation is very sacred, high teaching, but even the preliminary teachings are even more important. So some say, the practice of the tantra is like inserting or putting a grain inside a bamboo hole. So there's only two ways. So if either it goes this way or that way, either you go down or go up. So that's what happens when you engage in the practice of tantra. If you practice it well, then you go up very quickly. But if you don't practice it well, then you fall down into the lower realms.
They just two holes.
So previously teachers used to say that. And so if you practice these 37 practices of the Bodhisattvas, then it's very helpful to your mind, and it accords with the day-to-day life, right? Into with the reality, into day-to-day life. So if we do this for one day, and then the increase, and then to do 2 days, and then the whole month, then whole year, then your whole life will become meaningful. Right? So if your life, this life becomes meaningful and good, then you will definitely have a good life in the future. And so this one and the 8 verses of the mind training, these are not that difficult to understand, and they're very short. So last time we stopped, I think, at the beginning of verse 33, right?
And this one maybe talk about the Sangha members, not you guys.
Number 33.
Yeah, and Chilota is not lost.
Anyways, can you read it then now? Once. Reward and respect cause us to quarrel, and make hearing, thinking, and meditating decline. For this reason, give up attachment to the households of friends, relations, and benefactors.
This is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
어디지? 단데 지금 다시 당 하나서 지금 네 강가 저기 쇼핑 본다고 주대. 아니 시찬이 전부 만나서 하나서 소화되는 주대 그러더라고. 뒤가 뒤도나다 맞아 지금 마비샤야 야레자야 고마카야 다 강가 저거죠. 시찬이로.
So in general, the things that we do from early morning to night, going around and around all the time, is for that reason, right? In order to have a good livelihood, so food, clothing, shelter, and so forth. So for that reason, then we engage in all those kind of activities, like the activities of killing, stealing, telling lies, and so forth. So all these things are done for that reason.
근데 시다시 단지때 만나서 그런다 지금 전바서 간제 소외되나 소외가 되나 다 되냐고 그랬다 가지고 소화 되는 다들 보면서 그랬더라고.
So for that, for the livestock, we quarrel, we fight with others, we quarrel with others, and for that reason we also create so many negative karmas.
아니 라주소 단 대시 따위 다 되는 때전에 다 되고서 그랬더라고 시전에.
And so that's the secular beings, right? The lay person, and then ordained people. They usually quarrel for the view, in terms of the different views.
내 따완데 그 따완데스 내 켈렌데 그 따켈렌데 내 대시 그 대시 또 뒤도 세자리로 왔어.
And so they usually debate or quarrel for that reason, because of the view, because of the different views, right? So it's just, this is the right view, this is the wrong view. I believe in this view, I don't believe in that view, and so forth. Because of that, and there comes all these debates, quarrels, and so forth.
아니 게출은데 주출은데 그출은데 지야보데 간지 따와고 탐대시 같다가 되자고 그래서 나줘서.
And then in terms of the beliefs in religions, right? So it says, this is my religion, I believe in this, I don't believe in that religion, and so forth.
Usually, lepo doesn't. The tambo, no that lying, the lepo maritro. Tambo can go chilling.
So it's not the lay people who create the problem first. It's the ordained people up there who are creating the problems first.
Then lay people join them. Then no fight. But that she chanted and also that said, yeah, the Chimbadara, the process of the South.
And so that's how we engage in the quarrels and create non-virtuous actions.
For example, maybe I'm fighting some maybe non-Buddhism people, maybe some rabbis or maybe some monks. I say, well, I'm the Buddhist view, it's very bad. Then you guys also maybe support me also. Oh, this is Buddhism. And someone support them. Then more power, more problems coming. First, not you guys doesn't fight.
And you wouldn't do that.
I hope not. Maybe it's one day, maybe.
So if we are not blessed by the demons, we will not do that.
다시 전에 당하고 다 노래가 되는데 이나 다 네가 다 지금 라조 소야 지금 녀커다 되게 걸어야 지금 다 되게 뭐뭐 해서
And so the monks, the ordained people, they also quarrel, debate or quarrel, in terms of getting respect, reward, and so forth from others.
시전에 다 라주지 다 소외되는 다 라주지 좀 밑에 그렇게 잘했어요. 다 삼도 용거를.
And so usually the ordained people should not be worrying about the livelihood. They should not, for instance, what I'm going to do tomorrow, how will I earn the food and so forth. You don't have to think like that. So you don't normally quarrel for that reason.
What the leader that Yanka Wanka Pensa Twitch na Taji Sozola Ching Kiship Ching, Sozola Nyambala, Sozola Ching, 다 지금 전에 돈조라 취업이 왕기 아니 다른 수준적인 투성 공성이 샤원양도 그래도
And so because you quarrel or because you are attached to that reward or the offerings that people make to you and respect that people give to you, so because you are attached to that, because of that, then your hearing, your contemplation, your meditation declines.
그러나 그 뒤걸어 드리걸어 지 소소라 지 토야다 소소라 지 미다 깨라다 근데 요 아치도 되게 되거나 다 소소 지 투성 공성이
So it's true, right? So if you spend all your time quarreling for your the offerings, for the respects and so forth, then of course you will not have time to do the listenings, studies, and thinkings, or contemplations and meditations, right? So of course, obviously, those will decline or degenerate.
어떤도라 강가라 잡아 다 수수 저 너데 갈래면도 강가라 잡아 빵고 그래 대빵에 대다 자다셔서 말하래서
So therefore, you should give up attachment to the friends, household friends, relationships, benefactors, so those who support you and so forth. And doing that, giving up attachment to those things, is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
근데다 어때지 다 나도 지금 미자 pom을 봐야 돼 여러 와서 소소 지금 뭐 지금 전도세 아니 소소 쪽 아니 이제 들이라고 잡아주고 제대로나 아니 소소 도전 것도 샤바 냠으로 와서.
So same with we can apply this to the lay practitioners as well, right? So if the lay practitioner is very strongly involved in the attachment to one's relatives and friends, the possessions, properties, and so forth, then his or her hearing, thinking, and meditation will degenerate, right?
Don't think this was not for us.
So you can apply this, to you as a lay practitioner also. So don't think that this is only to be concerned about the ordained people.
It's not only ordained, okay? Then kanji maji. So that's it. Rabbi Shuma maji sudu sui bana. Kanji ta jiktengi shawala chaji chibu che marasu gorda.
And so anyway, whoever it is, whether you are ordained or a lay practitioner, should not be so attached to the worldly activities. So then if you do that, then your practice of hearing, thinking, and meditation will decline. And so give up attachment to all these things and go into a retreat into the mountains.
Then we'll give you food.
No.
Maybe no one give. This is a joke, okay? Don't go to the mountain, okay? If you are the kind of touching up till.
So you can't go, unless you have reached to that level. So now please read the verse 34. Harsh words disturb the minds of others and cause deterioration in the Bodhisattva's conduct. Therefore give up harsh words which are unpleasant to others. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. And so normally, when we differentiate our view and conduct from others, then we normally say that the view of the Buddhism, is that of interdependence, and the conduct is non-violence, or not causing harm to others, right?
Kanga chi the chi path ten the Jajara was. So Revadaga Jajara was the Lava was. The Rapar to Raparolana.
So the person, Tawad.
The short town of a chair or retro. Carjan Resna. Ta Tenju Raparolana. Ta Tawa Tenju, the Raparolana. Ta Sozo Jig. Kadina Contrata, then they go retro.
So you should not be violent, with others. You should not cause harm to others. In the conduct voice, you should not cause any harm to others. The reason is because of the view, because of the correct view, of interdependence. And so when you talk about the interdependence, there is the gross level and the subtle level. In terms of the gross level, it means like just depending on others, right? So whatever you have or whatever you want, you have to depend on others. So you can't get anything without depending on others, right? So this is very clear, right? When we use the harsh words, who do we use the harsh words to? We use them to normally, to the people that we normally associate with, right? Normally accompany with.
Right.
We can't use those words to somebody who we don't associate with. And so we are always associating with them, we are depending on them, right?
Right. Husband shows to wife to angry. They're always together. They're anyway. Co-workers show each other angry. They're always together.
So therefore we have to depend on them, right? And so conduct voice, you should not cause harm to others or should not be violent to others because it is the view of interdependence. And so this word, the verse here shows the non-violent conduct. And so when we say violent conduct, it doesn't mean you have to shoot with a gun or stab with a knife.
And
so when you use a harsh word and that hurts somebody's feeling, that's violent, that's causing harm to others. So if you do that, then your the conduct, the Bodhisattva conduct of the patients, will deteriorate. And so it's not saying that you should not do this because it causes harm to others. It says you should not do this because it's going to deteriorate your own practice. So there isn't anybody who don't care about oneself, right? So if you really care about yourself, you should not do that because then doing that will cause your practice to degenerate. So then it says, therefore, give us harsh words which are unpleasant to others. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas.
Okay? What is the other Kadina chick? Kasi come Malana, Samla chick. The shot in the train, and doing in the Damara Yuti there. I don't know where it was.
And so even if we don't say it, verbally from our mouth, but sometimes thinking in our mind, or writing it down in the wall and so forth, we do that, right?
Even in Tibetan in India, they're fighting to word to word, they say each other. Here, they doesn't say, also we doesn't meet each other, we do good, but right and red, it's better worse.
Oh, yeah.
Then the other people, they know, they who, or anybody, they see them there, unhappy, uncomfortable. This is harm others, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, if you doesn't say that, but don't write.
Yeah.
Then another time to social them, another pair the dog. Then we really saw the noisy part, 20 something like that. That's so far, I am a little of that. She'll get it with enough. I think the TV or the Kamaja was.
So normally, the harsh word we say with our mouth, right? So that's how it's normally done. But nowadays you can also write, and even if you write, somebody reads, then they, get hurt. The feelings get hurt, and so you shouldn't write as well.
Are you ready? Sometimes.
Better. Yeah, I do.
Ati, that day, Sunday, Kanji, Tango, Kadina Lawyers. Central never cheated that day, Pachu with some language. The man is Bishop Kachina, that never cheated.
And so when you're causing harm to others, whatever kind of actions you engage in, whether it's physical, verbal, or mental action, that cause harm to others.
It may be a very strong compassion to the Cheda, then you can maybe use a little bit harsh words. Maybe write a little bit harsh, but maybe not available for us.
So you can use the harsh word out of bodhicitta, out of a good intention. You can say bad words. You can write bad words. If you really do that with the intention to benefit others, with a good intention. But normally it's very difficult for ordinary people like us, right? When we say a harsh word, we normally say because we have bad thoughts, not out of good thought.
Sometimes we think, oh, this is for benefit for others, maybe I can help for them. But you check very carefully our mind. There's something, oh, he doesn't do what I want. He doesn't do what I say. Then you have to, you want to, what do you call it? Control them. There we are very difficult because we are too used to our best dear friend relations. They're always with us. Usually we doesn't know the relations are our enemy. We think they're all very friendly with us always 24 hours. But they are our
real enemies.
What is it?
So because they're always very close to us. That's because we are so habituated with them since beginner's lifetime.
Okay, I think we can stop here. We need to next week. A couple verses. Mostly the verse in dedication. Then maybe we go to homework. That's Georgia. Jendi yela mabebe. Sitting keeping in the Jendi yela mere sildo. That's it. Funny that I keep on going to so. Jendi yela mabebe yela mobi.
So therefore, Lama Tsongkhapa said,
So
Lama Tisha said, so someone who uses the words that doesn't cause harm to others' feeling, is the real wise person.
아니 계시 가라와서 되게 직접 동담 마펜바 이제는 세다 빠시가 하나서 직접 보고 딱 매달에 매야 말해서 그리나 세다가 빠스
Geshe-su.
Geshe Karawa.
And then there's a great Lama called Geshe Karawa. He said you should abandon shooting with the gun of a harsh word, and you should abandon hostility. Normally you should abandon hostility.
Right? We shoot very strong gun to harsh words.
Harsh word.
The harsh word. Then he said, don't shoot this gun. They kill very bad. They kill you, then they doesn't kill them, they kill you. What is that? They don't know. Can't you take that day? You 단대 쇼로kan 소시가 되기 때문에 근데 샘진 젤라 네비가 다 치킨 샘베 특성은 샘베 다 영향샤와 제조 말해서 대체나 현황기지 아니 샤저성이 냠내다 샤베 냠내다 오서비 냠내 냠도 그래 현황 누구이 완자 빠고 그래서
So the verse 34 is saying that you should not engage in any kind of this negative karma, including using the harsh words. If you do that, that will cause harm to your practice, the bodhicitta, your bodhisattva conduct. It's not saying it will cause harm to others, it's saying it's cause harm to yourself. And so therefore, you should not engage in those actions.
If you love you.
If we love ourselves.
If you love yourself.
I love myself.
Yeah.
But I always do this. Because do you love yourself? Yeah, really?
Not too much.
Good. It's very good. Okay, now maybe you guys forget the homework. Maybe. Homework. Who else? Okay. What do we need?
Why?
Why do we need to practice Buddhism?
Because it's the only way. Just kidding.
Don't ask.
Okay. So whatever you think.
You don't want to suffer.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, that is true.
Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Then second question comes out. That there is, they want to do my meditation.
Yeah, because we don't want suffering and we want happiness. Therefore, we should practice Buddha's teaching, no Buddhism.
Then second question comes, okay? You have to more detailed answer. If we don't wish, is correct? If we don't wish happiness and suffering, right? Suffering, what is the benefit of practicing Buddhism?
Is that worded wrong?
I think this is not wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Correct.
We want
They
freedom
do
from
not-
suffering.
No, grammatically it's right, but
Is it weird?
is the meaning?
Yeah, the meaning is
아니, we don't say.
나 대화들이 등하면 대체 줘봐줘. 대화들이 등하면 되나? 너무 지루하게 그랬어. I don't think the word is wrong. I read wrong. Sorry, it's my bad.
No. The Tibetan he wrote to Damchoe, the Damchoe translated was wrong.
This is not
it's Damchoe.
translated is wrong. This is my bad.
Oh, okay.
The original Tibetan was wrong.
So what's the question
So-
again?
Well, it's what you can assume. It's like
So you can understand that from there. I was just translating it literally. It says happiness and suffering. If you don't wish happiness and suffering, so if it's like saying if you don't wish. So we just mentioned about that, right? Because we want to have happiness and we don't want to have suffering. That's why we have to practice Dharma. So then the second question: if you don't wish suffering and if you wish happiness, if you don't wish suffering and wish happiness, right? And then how will that benefit? How will the practicing Dharma benefit that? That's what it's saying. Right?
Is it clean? No, that's clean.
No?
But there was.
It's forgetting a
Oh.
preposition.
Please say it
If
again,
you-
yeah, I agree.
So the reason for practicing Dharma is because you want to have happiness and you don't want to have suffering, right? So if you want to have happiness and you don't want to have suffering, how will practicing Dharma benefit you?
Practical steps to achieving it.
So that's what it's saying. how will Dharma help you to achieve the happiness you want and avoid the suffering you don't want?
Okay. Yeah, maybe you first.
Ladies first.
Okay, go ahead.
It helps you to, or it helps you to see wisdom, realizing emptiness, or the wisdom of reality, which then allows you to differentiate between true happiness, not happiness and suffering. Get rid of the true.
Good. Okay, now he first, then you.
It gives you the tools to. It gives you the tools you need to minimize lust, hatred, and ignorance, the three poisons. And by minimizing those things, that's how you free yourself from afflictive emotions. That's how you achieve
Suffering.
happiness.
그런 게 유모스는 팽개됐어. 나는 다른 유모 도슨도 모스는 팽개됐어. 그래서 방과하는 때는 동안 다 먹었어.
Okay, now you.
Oh, I was just gonna. I mean,
You finished?
I was just gonna say that it's just the practical steps to achieve the goal of happiness. It's just the practical, the path.
처치 해야 되는데 가서 대화 토배당 동안 봐야 되는데 가서 조사기 견제라고 그랬어.
Okay, now you.
I think my answer would be, it gives you a deeper understanding in karma, in your actions. So because it gives you a deeper understanding in your own actions, then you realize that what you do, there's a repercussion. So I think emptiness comes later on. I think first is the karmic imprint.
달래 게임이게 그거라 하고 그랬어. 이 하고 하는데 저는 유사히 말했어. 동반이야 뭐라도 동반이라고 세라라 동반이 더 하더라. 그래서 이제 제가 그랬어. 동원을 때는 내 게임이게 뭘 하고 그랬어.
Okay. Anything else? Someone?
Just the plan is there. So here are the steps. If you follow these steps, you will achieve your goals.
Yeah.
It's laid out for you. It's not just like do this and then go up and do your own thing. It's like, you want this result, you practice these steps. So, but
근데 처치가 되거든. 저랑 대부분의 누구들은 유대의 사고 된 거였어. 근데 더 조사를 한번 되는 데 두고 된 거였어.
Because everybody's very good. Not bad,
Very good answer.
Everybody. Maybe I don't know how this kind of the Geshe told me to hear one.
I'll not be able to grade you.
Pass fail.
빼야 뭐냐 버스. 먼저요. 누가 시바시에서. 누가 되어보시나? 되게 저대 아니 근주도 방대로 제가 하고 왔어.
So first you have to understand the suffering. What is suffering, right? So once you understand suffering, then you will know, then you will see where does this suffering come from. Then you will strive to understand the cause of the suffering.
근데 저저 땅에서 대화되고 누가 면도고 대화도 하고 다 하나 대화돼야 될 거라서. 대학 답시 가지. 누가 뭐나 대만어 답시 같이 되고 있다. 저도 날라서
And so if we want to have happiness, we don't want to have suffering. So if we want to have happiness, then how can we do to achieve happiness, right? If we don't want to have suffering, then where did this suffering come from? What can we do to avoid this suffering? So we're talking about the cause and effect, right? So yeah, it's the same as what you said. What you all said.
Yeah, you guys very good. If I give some number, then there's someone check maybe they say, oh, you doesn't he or she. Yeah, think this.
So if I were to give a grade, then you might say that I'm discriminating you guys. Oh, you like him more, that's why you give him better grade, and you don't like me much. Things like that, so I better not give grades.
just say pass or fail. That's all. Just pass or we fail.
So he said pass, everybody's pass.
Everybody.
Oh, that's
So
good.
that's
good. Yeah, I'll take a pass. That's good.
Anyway, you all put good thought into this, so that's good.
We have to think about why we practice. What reason? Why? What benefit? We have to all 다 그래 제대로 감성다고 그러죠.
So you have to think about all the reasons why.
Otherwise,
Why should we
Buddha
practice
said,
Dharma?
teacher said, it's not very stable. rupa saoji lewa tang naso jine chara mecha suzu jense gege saji de sosha da gege labja de jense sa lawa yana songdo no to temo shorto.
So if you understand because you understand the reasons, you say this is like this because you know the reason, that your understanding that you are believing in that will be very stable. Otherwise, if you don't understand the reason and you just say, oh, because Buddha said this or because some Lama said this, then you'll be easily defeated if someone were to ask you a very tough question.
Otherwise, the Buddha, your teachers said that exactly correct that way. They doesn't show you all the reasons. Then you don't know all the reasons. Then they do two questions. Then you say, oh, what's going on? What is that? This is our second question.
Third question.
What benefit will there be if you identify cause of those two?
Cause of what?
Those two.
The causes of those two.
Happiness and suffering.
Happiness and suffering. Didn't we just answer that?
Well, win the debate. I really just
So what benefit would there be if we identify the cause of those two? So cause of suffering and cause of happiness. What benefit would there be?
그다음 내가 다 쇼라 인터넷 나가서 대dun이 간에서 정리서 발표해서 했다나 저도 또 다른 생각이 내가 고통도 대체요다. 다 원래 대니 정리서 나갈 때도 그래서 다 좋습니다.
So anyway, my answer to the questions two, the second question was that it benefits to identify the cause from where the happiness and suffering come from. So if you practice Buddhism, it will benefit, it will help you to understand or identify the cause from where this happiness and suffering come from. And then there is just like the following question, right? Following with that, it's kind of continuing related to that. So it's what benefit? So if that's so, then what benefit will there be if you identify the causes of those two, the suffering and happiness?
Okay, who's voluntary?
Well, if we know the causes, then we can figure out what to do with those causes to get results.
대답하거나 내가요.
대부분 말하는 가르쳐보라 이 팽그랬어. 가르쳐보라 대라는 상담 팽그랬어.
In other words, if we know the causes of suffering and the causes of happiness, then we can apply the antidotes to our afflictions that are causing us suffering, and we can create virtuous actions so that we can gain happiness.
Do together, they will do together, and the one we do by 팽그랬어.
You create the causes of a better life for this life, and you create the causes of a better life for the next life, and be able to help more people.
그럼 제대로
체들라 내가 이렇게 주사는 세침마를 겨우 주사는 나는 미션에 펜터하게 주사는 거였어.
택하는 줄 알아요, 딱히. 오케이.
Then you do have something.
대답할 겁니다.
You said it.
Yeah, okay.
When you understand the causes for suffering and for happiness, then the benefit is that you become awake, you wake up, and like the word like Buddha to wake up, so you become kind of. Then one would say that you're on the path of becoming Buddha. So you're Buddha, you wake up. Then you wake up to reality, you wake up.
Wake up. You sound
You wake up.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Wake up from sleep.
Wake up from sleep.
Yeah, ocean, yeah, well, wake up for sleep, you
Sleep of ignorance.
Yeah,
You wake up from the sleep of ignorance.
yeah, this is good. Otherwise, you say.
Otherwise, you don't know.
Okay, yeah, you.
When you realize the causes of suffering and happiness, you can set forth to minimize the causes of suffering and increase the causes of happiness. And when you do that, the two things you're doing are you're minimizing disturbing emotions, so you can recruit the faculties of a calmer mind, and you're increasing your merit by engaging in good activities. And when you increase your merit and you also calm your mind, that allows you to have realizations. And ultimately, it may allow you the peace of mind and the merit to have a strong realization of dependent arising. And from that realization, then you can destroy all suffering if you reflect on it and fuel it and put it back into your practice.
그거 집어서 저는 뉴스 마사다 되는 가서 동업이 유진 모습만 동업이 사이 말았어. 동업이 대화가 유진 모습만 대화가 사이랬어. 안 겨와 사이랬어. 겨와 사고라 때는 나도 되네. 돈이 또 하다도 팽이랬어. 근데 저 때는 돈이 또 돈이 따버져 냠는 자와는 때는 거기 동화도 가서 모두 파타웃 제도 그랬어.
Yeah, very good. Maybe I'll give a little different. little different number. 근데 저도 그걸 야불랍 성스나 당에 당하고 삼설에서 가는데 정에서 마이나 다들 저도 야보 가대. 대진이 다 뉴스나. 근데 저걸 삼니 저 야보 다 두만 오셔와이나. 두마가 저서나 팀 저 야보 메가 삼니 다 이거 제도 저 팽그레서 제다 거이나. 어제도 집안을 그랬어요.
It's the same as what you said. If you know the cause, if you know what is the cause of suffering, then of course that will help you not to create the cause of suffering. If you understand it, right? If you without knowing, then you create it all the time. But if you know it, the benefits that it will help you to not create the cause. And same with the happiness. And so because you want to have happiness, and you know the cause of happiness, and that will help you to create the cause of the happiness.
나도 저도 다른 번 춤쇼색도 왔던 건가? 춤쇼색도 왔어.
So, for example, here in America, people are all afraid or respect the law, right? Respect the law, not afraid of the law, but respect the law. Very much, right?
가르치는 좀
Why do you respect the law very much?
가서 춤도 가와이나?
Obama will come after you.
가서 춤도 가와 난
Smile as a
이거로
big
되고.
stick.
So the reason is why? Because if you don't respect the law, the rules, the law,
Fear of the result.
results,
Yes.
yeah. So they will come after you, right? You get punishment
Some
because of the punishment.
Chupa.
Yeah, tuba. You said tuba because tuba ticket, remember?
That's what she's referring to, right?
Trooper.
Trooper.
Then we talk tuba, then he give ticket.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you're not talking about that?
No.
you just-
but yeah.
Talking to that.
Who got the ticket? Yeah, ticket.
Speeding.
Then they're done then.
근데 이마다 다 주로 나도 집으로 왔을 때나 이제 디파서는 저거 동안 거거든. 이제 겨와치는 저거 도와는 것도 이제는 하거나 근데 싸게 이제 가면 싸 맞춰 이제 가면 무슨 왔어.
So you know the law, and you know that if you do that, you get punished. Then you don't do that because you don't want to have the punishment, right? The penalty. You don't want to pay the penalty or experience the punishment. Therefore, you don't engage the same. So if you know the cause of the suffering and the cause of happiness, then that will help you to not create the cause of suffering, and to create more cause of happiness if you want.
그래서 수수다 학과도 개념이 좋아서 학과도.
So identifying or knowing what are the causes is very important.
Otherwise, I don't know I understood the laws. I do mistake, I broken. If then the results come from me. That doesn't care, you don't know, maybe give you.
So there's no exception to ignorance, right? So if you just because you don't know doesn't mean that you get excused for that.
Not excused. Okay. What is the reason that if there is no cause, there will be not result?
What is the reason that if there's no cause, there will be no result? What's the reason for that? If there's no cause, there will be no result, right?
Yes.
So what is the reason for that?
The law of cause
That's
and
reality.
effect.
That's the way karma works.
It's karma.
That's reality, yeah.
The law of cause and effect.
Why?
Could you say the law of cause and effect?
That's the law of causality. You dig it, change it.
Oh, are you guys, do you show this the answers for them?
If there's
Stay out, that's the only genetic was.
Yeah, that's the law of cause and effect, right? The nature of law of cause and effect, and the law of cause and effect. It's not created by somebody, right? It's not created by. If you create the cause, you experience the result. Yeah, so that's the nature of the cause and effect. It's not created by somebody, right? So the fire having the nature of heat and the water having the nature of cool, that's natural, right? It's not created by somebody. That's its nature. It's just like that. So if you don't create the cause, you will not experience the result. So if you don't want to experience the suffering, then you should not create the cause of the suffering. If you haven't created the cause of suffering, then you will never experience suffering.
But if you didn't create a cause again, but you didn't cut a lot, then also
So even if we don't create now, because we have created so much in the past, therefore we keep on experiencing so many results.
How many tickets did you get?
So far,
At one time?
Many.
for speeding, only one.
Really?
Yeah.
On the way to Kurukulla Center also?
No, I never got that.
Yeah, but how fast were you going? 120?
No. I think it was about 90.
85.
85, 90.
Wow, that's
Pretty
pretty good.
85 because of
Oh,
one
yeah, yeah.
cough.
That's right, yeah.
And I'm-
I was following you once, and I think I said, may I follow you, Damchoe? And in 2 seconds, I couldn't see you anymore. Go like, zoom. Bye.
I said, oh she was following me.
Good.
And you went ahead of me.
I'm following my parents.
Never follow them.
근데 다 야보레스 가지. 계획이 제때 대외 제때 개와래. 누가 제때 못 개와래. 그래서 제단 제녀를 삼았다. 레븐이나 삼았다니 다 제저다. 제파 다 저거래.
And so the cause of happiness is virtue, and the cause of suffering is non-virtue. So by thinking about the results, the thinking of the result, then you should create the cause for happiness and abandon creating cause for suffering.
Okay. That's it. Then do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Okay. Don't ask him, please. Okay.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of volunteering lately at homeless shelters and mentally retarded people and stuff like that because it's part of my practice and it's something I feel very passionate about. And but I feel that public service is a better form of purification and accumulation and than some types of practice. And I feel like I can't do enough because when I started to do more, I felt so good, but I felt really polluted inside, and I felt things coming more clearly in my mind, but I feel that I need to do more than I can do in a single life. So what else can I do in my practice to purify besides, the 35 Buddhas and this type of thing? Or what else can I do to purify more?
Just to clarify, what do you mean by polluted inside? What do you mean by polluted? When you're doing that, you also feel like you're polluted inside? Well, what do you mean by that?
Well, when I started getting more involved in it, I started to become more aware of the negative karma and to feel it, and to feel it changing. And
To feel changing?
yeah, I feel I feel like I want to turn myself inside out. I feel sick. I feel like I'm like experiencing like renunciation.
But that's good, right? If you feel the renunciation, then that's good. That's not polluted. Yeah, I was not very sure about what you mean by that.
I just feel like I can't do enough of it though.
It's not you feel inadequate for it, or?
No,
Well, I
no,
guess
no,
that
no.
answer.
I want to do more, and
So you feel inadequate to the,
I think he's saying that once he started doing it, he realized how beneficial it was and how much more he needed to do, because he felt like he had accumulated more negative karma to purify that he hadn't even realized until he started doing this work, which allowed him to realize he was purifying some of it.
but didn't you also say that sometimes you think that helps more than
Doing the practice.
doing the
Yeah.
practice?
So it's
sometimes it's more sometimes than sometimes. Yeah.
But what was the question?
What else can I do in conjunction with my practice? I mean,
To
to
purify.
do purifications. I mean,
So we can be more.
Bodhisattva, 35 Buddhas. I feel like nothing's enough. I feel like I have to do more.
Mhm.
Something tells me I need more. Help more people.
Yeah, then we can do more. How much we can.
So just feel like doing more. So that's your question?
Yeah. What I don't.
He said,
What
what more
practice?
can I do to
He wants to
purify?
purify.
I want to do purification.
Oh, so that's the question.
A
Okay.
lot though. Not just the two types. I want to do something really strong.
왜냐면 더 같이 이제 얻어서 내가 가르쳐 버렸어.
That's a good question, man. I like that.
Yes.
Maybe I'm missing the question. Did you understand the question?
Yeah, well, he says he doesn't always feel like doing the practices that are recommended. So can we leave this to not a group discussion? So he says he doesn't always feel like the practices recommended, like 35 Buddhas or Vajrasattva practice, are strong enough purification. And sometimes he feels doing volunteering work is even stronger purification. But now he realizes he has so much to purify, he wants to do more than he has time to do just by volunteering. So what can he do to this even stronger?
Yeah.
If he doesn't feel the strength coming from the practices that our teachers recommend, so what could he do?
Oh, so other than the practice of the 35 Buddha practice or Vajrasattva practice. 호랑이 가서 다 민대저 셔트셔야 내가 지고서라. 어떤 민대 바다 민대서 다 셈바 통다 민대서라. 그래서 셔트셔야 내가 지고서 대체는 호랑이 즉 디버도 다 지고 편교도 소도서. 호랑이 이자 타와 다는데는 제가 가서 동사 dem바데 설레다 대체와들이 가서 대체와들 다 디버 마타 다 소도서. 그래서 다 가서 디마다 냠레신다 가르쳐 버렸다. 동샤다 이자사에 멤버 딜 슈처는 냠레 가르쳐 버렸어. 디바 다 된다.
가자. 다 소속 제 톱스지나 다다. 제 톱스지.
그럼 망고친도 없어. So you want to do more, right?
근데 다
Way more.
만 범치 대시. 만 범치.
So you recite Om Mani Padme Hum 100,000 times.
아니 이자 멈추게.
And then do the 100 syllable mantra 100,000 times.
아니 차 멈췄어.
And then do prostration 100,000 times.
아니 가래 있다.
Okay?
Okay.
나도 가래. 다 제한은 다 말고.
So there's no limit, to what you can do. I mean, there's no limit to what to do. It's just that whether you can do it or not.
딱 나도 제거다 나도 제 도에 말.
So of course there's no limit to what to do, but it just depends, on us, how much you can really do.
말이나 다 지나가다 지금 로봇 뭐지? 빼야 버렸어. 근데 배도 좀 보셔 봐야죠.
So anyway, the community service that you're doing, that's very, 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 very beneficial, very good. Keep on doing that also.
But the other thing to mark is that Lama Zopa reminds us that when we do purification, we have to have faith that it's actually working. Otherwise, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So if you're just reciting these manis, but you don't think it's doing anything, it won't do anything. So you need to believe that doing those prostrations is a purification practice. And without that belief, you're just getting exercise. You know?
Yeah.
So if you don't think if you thought of those practices as useless, you have to reverse that thinking before you do them. Because that's part of the practice.
That's good advice. That's some conviction.
섬이 없다면은 아니 저
원래 거기서는 너 네가 다성선을 써보래. 네가 다성선만 썼는데, 근데 네가 다게 말했어. 맞었나?
나 대어 삼고 네 바탕이 최대한 삼고 내가 네바 여주 삼고
So no, it's not just thinking that, oh yes, by doing this my negative will be purified. Not just thinking that. So I'm doing this in order to purify that. That's what you have to think. And also you have to believe in doing believe in that practice. So if I recite 100 mantra, this practice has the power to purify my negativities. You have to believe in that. That's what you have to believe in.
또 야보시라 그랬을 때 저랑 때 가지마지 자주 제가 빠지도 야보시라 그랬더라고.
Yeah, so anyway, it's very good also the help that you're doing to help other people. That's very good.
그래서 서로 강한 통투 제가 때 개점 그랬더라고. 나도 가지고 나도 라바잖아 제가 하는 거지.
So you do whatever you can. There's no use raising hand for something that you cannot do.
Okay? Good. Okay, now we finish.
Okay. I was
Thanks.
just thinking about that. So page 8, verse 4, is that right?
Yeah. Thank you, Geshe.
Thank you, Geshe.
You are